Hey guys, Ryan Dossey, and in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through how to get unlimited skip tracing for just $100 a month. Let's dive right in. Before we get into kind of the meat and potatoes of today's video, I did just want to slap a disclaimer on this sucker, and that's I'm not a fan of cold texting or mass cold calling. Things like the do not call list exist for a reason. I've done some other videos around this that we'll throw up, so if you're on YouTube and want to check out why, you can. But that being said, there are a lot of legal, ethical reasons that you would want to find somebody's phone number or email. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that in 2024 through Deal Machine. Now, if you're not familiar with Deal Machine, we've partnered with them at Ballpoint for a long time. They've spent a lot of money with us. We've spent a lot of money with them. If I'm being totally blunt, and I've covered this in other videos, typically I'm using PropStream to pull my niche lists. And that still is the case. However, there is some stuff that we're getting from Deal Machine. I dropped another video recently on how we're getting our seniors with equity data through them, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's the only place you can get that data right now. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how to use their skip tracing data and when and why you'd want to use it in an ethical matter. So let's hop into my computer and I'll show you what I'm looking at. So if you haven't used Deal Machine, we have an affiliate link that I'll throw in the comments down below. If you're enjoying the channel, want to support it, cool. If not, just don't use it. That's pretty straightforward. So their cheapest plan is $100 a month. Same as PropStream. Gives you 10,000 leads that you can save, work a month, or export out, as well as their driving for dollars. Got a whole application and stuff. But the big thing here is this contact info with phone numbers and email addresses that we're going to dive into. They have other plans, like if you need more records or if you need a lot of records, but let me show you kind of what we're looking at here. So when you log into your Deal Machine account, it's going to look like this. I think they have like a dark and a light mode setting maybe, and mine's just in dark mode. Maybe there's a way to change that. I don't know. I don't really care. I think it looks kind of cool. But it's pretty straightforward. What we're looking at here, you've got this map, leads, and mail. Map is going to be where we're at. Leads is going to be anything you've saved. And then mail is going to be like any mail that you're sending through Deal Machine directly. Now, we're going to just throw in some information here at the top. One thing to note, I do have to blur a lot. We've had videos taken down by YouTube for like doxing because we showed fake names and addresses, let alone real ones. So you're going to notice like this isn't the most visually appealing, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. So let's say for the sake of today's video that you're pulling a list in 46201 in Indianapolis, Indiana. Now I'm going to just do like a common list here. So I'm going to do single family owners. If you click on this more, that opens everything you can do. I'm going to do equity percent. And I always do is between 35 and 100. I'm going to add in owner type. I'm going to do absentee owner, do confirm, and number of owned properties is less than 3. I could have done, I guess, less than or equal to. So a little bit of like a more clunky interface, but you know, oh well, like it is what it is. It gets good data out. It's just a little bit different than what I'm used to. Before I dive into kind of how to actually access the contact data, I do want to toot Deal Machine's horn a little bit. There's a lot of data providers in the space that just haven't really done anything new or cool in years. I used to put out almost like weekly videos of like new feature, how to pull this list, how to pull that list. And just like, there hasn't really been anything inventive that's been done until some of this stuff. So my understanding from talking to the guys at Deal Machine is this data is effectively like the 911 registry. It's what banks use for fraud. This is not like junk tier data. I looked up myself, I looked up my brother and his wife, I looked up my in-laws and my parents, and I was able to find phone numbers or emails that tied back to people that I personally know, several of whom, like myself, aren't all over the internet, right? Like my in-laws and my parents, for instance. So in my testing of the data, it's been solid. My understanding of what the data is and where they got it. This was not cheap and was a huge investment on their part into, well, us, quite frankly. So hopping into this, if I click on a particular lead, it'll pull up all of the typical information, and we're going to have this like associated contact info. Now, if I click on it, it'll give me more information about that person. We believe they're the property owner, month and year they were born, how old they are, sex, previous mailing address, occupation, education, if they've got it, all that kind of stuff. This particular one doesn't have the data. So let's look for another one that does. So if I go to this next one, I can see we've got the property, we've got who it is that we believe owns it, and we can see phone numbers, which I'll click on and we'll have to blur, as well as emails that I'll click on and we'll blur everything after, like the @ on. So those would be phone numbers or emails that we can try to get that person on the phone. Now, what's a permissible use case for this? Let me build this list real quick and I'll show you. All right, if I click view list at the bottom, it'll open it up in the leads section. So I've got this list that I just built. So what would be a permissible use for this? So if somebody's not on the do not call list, you can legally cold call them. So I can see here, any of these numbers that are grayed out means that person is on the do not call list. In fact, even if I hover over it, it'll pop up with this: numbers on the do not call registry, calling it with offers or promotions may violate telemarketing rules. Like, big fan of how Deal Machine's handling this. They're giving you the data. You're an adult, make your own decisions, good or bad. There might be consequences for those actions. But if you're like us and you're trying to do everything above board, there's quite a few phone numbers and angles in here that we can try, right? So a permissible way to do this would be you mail somebody and it bounces back, return to sender. Well, those leads are gold. Hop in, look up the address by name, skip trace it, and see, are they on the do not call list or not? Another thing you could do is reach out to these and follow up and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I sent you a piece of mail last week. Just wanted to make sure you got it. Are you interested in selling that property? You're calling for a purpose. As I preface this video, some of you guys will just bulk export this, cold call it, text it. You're adults. It's not what I would do with it, but that is something you can do with it. Now, I want to show you guys something else that I've seen with this that I'm actually pretty impressed about. And I know that they're working on more with this, but if I go back to my map, I've got my list here of 414 records. So like if I'm on a budget, right, and I can only send $500 worth of mail, this could be a great way to try to also pull something extra out of those same leads. But you can also go into here into more, and if we go contact information, you can pull things like, does the contact have a phone number? If I do yes, that cuts my 414 down to 336. So that could be a way to narrow this. Like, I only want to mail the people that I can also call. Now, one thing to note with some of these, it's not going to be the owner. It's going to be like an associated contact. So when I looked up my address, which I'm not going to give you guys, it was my wife, not me. Well, she could get the message to me. When I looked up my parents, it was my mom, not my dad. When I looked up my brother, it was his wife, not him, right? So again, like, might not be the person, but somebody married or close to, next to kin, something of that nature. Just while poking around, I thought this was another neat feature. So it tells you who it was listed by, how long it's been on the market. This was cool too. So there's this little triangle that pops up next to the associated contact. It says the property was sold on February 13th, 2024. Our records for the person were last updated February 14th. There's a potential likelihood of a mismatch. Solid. Like, that's just, you can tell they're really putting some attention to detail into this for you guys. One other thing I found that's super interesting is just by looking at the actual data, if you're looking at trusts, I've actually seen accurate contact info for those as well, because of their data source, which historically that's been like an unheard of. So there's some pretty neat layering to find some of these opportunities that I think they're just doing a fantastic job with. So whether you're looking to ethically cold call or follow up with your return to senders, or, do what a lot of you guys do, here's how you pull it out of Deal Machine for free. Again, $99 gets you 10,000 leads. You can save that's like 10,000 phone numbers. I think $149 gets you 30,000 exports you can rip out, and $499 gets you 100,000 records you can rip out per month. I don't know what that would cost you with your current skip tracing provider, but if you ask me, it's a pretty fantastic value. Thank you guys for taking the time to hang out with me. I try to keep you guys in the loop of any of these like new innovations that we're playing with. That way you're not overpaying for junk data from somebody else.